Hello, my name's Jim Santiago, and today we're going to be doing a search for an unincorporated Miami-Dade property to figure out if there's any open code violations, permits, or open citations on the property. This is just for a property in unincorporated Miami-Dade, and we're going to also go over how to determine if it's just an unincorporated Miami-Dade property. This is going to be a great way to search for a property up front with no sign up necessary, no fees for the searches, or no logins necessary to really do these searches, as they're all public record. As a disclaimer, I do suggest that you get an official lien search on a property, but this is a great way to preliminary search for a piece of property so that when you're looking at something, an unincorporated Miami-Dade property, you can quickly see if there's any open violations or citations or permits on it, so you can know that when you're going in to do your assessment and inspections on the property. The first way we're going to start, is we're going to go to the Miami-Dade County Property Appraisers page. We do have a link on our website, which is indytitleftl.com. That's INDY titleftl.com, and you'll be able to find a link on the bottom of this video for that. And if you go to our resources page, you can go right to down to the bottom here, and we have the Miami-Dade County Property Appraisers site here. You can just go ahead and click on that link. You can also go to miamidade.gov/PA, and it'll bring you here. We're going to then go to property search, and we're going to click again. So on this page, there's a property search link here. We're going to go to this property search page here, and we're going to click on this big button here that says property search. This is going to bring us to a page where we can search for our property. We can do it in 4 different ways. We're going to try to identify the individual property that we're looking at. We're going to use a property today that I've done a previous search on, and I know has some good examples for us. So you can see the kind of examples that you need to look at for different violations and the permits and the citations, and then we can cross-reference them a little bit. I usually search by the address, which is usually the first thing I have. If you have the folio number, you can always search by the folio and the address. If you're not familiar with this page, you really should be. If you're doing Miami-Dade properties, buying or selling them, it's a great resource tool. And I'll go ahead and I will be doing another video on the property appraisers pages for the Tri-County area in South Florida. But we're going to go ahead and use this piece of property, which my property address is 19441 Northeast One Place. When you're searching here, you want to abbreviate the street direction. No, don't add anything after the number of the street, and for the abbreviate the street type, so like place or street, ST for street, place is PL, terrace is just TER. This page is great. It shows a whole bunch of stuff. I like it a lot because it shows like a satellite view of the property. You can see the other parcels next to it. It gives great information about the property, the usage of that property, as well as sales history for that property. Again, I'm going to do a video on this, but what we're looking for today is specifically the folio number, which is going to be in this first section here called folio, and we're going to be looking at the first 2 numbers. The first 2 numbers are what describe who is the governing municipality of that property. So in this case, we're going to be looking for properties that start with 30. If they start with 30, that means that they're unincorporated Miami-Dade County properties. If they start with any other numbers like 01, 07, 14, anything like that, this search will not provide full searches. For that, you need to go to another municipality. If you're wondering what those other numbers mean, if you go back to our resources page on our website, we actually have a folio, the link to the Miami-Dade County properties folio breakdown, and you can see the different properties and what the folios mean. And if you have any questions on that, you can give us a call. I do suggest calling county if you have any questions on that. Really, we're going to take the folio number from this, and we're going to use this number to search for our properties. Our first step is, so once we take this, we're going to copy this. I do suggest printing this out. You're going to use this as a cross-reference for everything we're doing today. I like to make it a second window when I'm doing stuff, but if you don't have that, print it out, and put it on a notepad, whatever you want to do, but we're going to need this, and we're also going to need our address. So we're going to need the 2 information we need, your folio number and your property address, and that's really going to get us where we need to go. So the first search we're going to take right from our resources page. We actually have 3 searches, links to what we're going to be doing today. And this is really going to encompass almost all the violations, citations, and permits on Miami-Dade County, unincorporated Miami-Dade County. If you go to our resources tab, on our website, you can see that we have the links for these items right on the bottom here. And I'll have a link to my resources page right on the video as well. You can go ahead and click right here, and you can go to the building violations search page. We're going to search for first our building violations, and this is with the regulatory and economic resources section of Miami-Dade County. It's a department that is basically in charge of your violations on your property, making sure that you guys are keeping your properties in line. And really, this the main part of this is we're going to search for in two separate ways. We're going to double check ourselves because sometimes Miami-Dade County is not great at putting information in correctly one way, and they like to use a mailing address instead of a property address for some references, and they don't like to put folios in sometimes. So we always want to search for our address, and we want to search by our folio number. The first thing I always search by folio number first. Now, if we go down to this bottom part here, we can see that the folio number is here and that there are 4 boxes here. If we go back to our property appraisers page, we can see that our folio is broken down into basically 4 sections and different numbers in each section. 2 numbers in the first section, 4 in the second, 3 in the third, and 4 in the fourth. And we want to use those numbers, how they basically are broken down in that folio. So the first box is going to be our 30, then we're going to put 2101, 011, and 0180. And this is going to give us our boxes. Really, I am actually trying to type in here. They won't let you put more than what numbers are in there, so it's kind of idiot-proof a little bit, which is nice, but you still need to know that it's kind of broken down. The next thing is that we're going to select if we want to see all the cases or just the open cases. Now, trust me, it is much easier just to search by open cases because you do not want to see a bad properties history of code violations. Building violations, Building violations only matter if they're open at that time. If it was previous to that, you can use that as a history of the property, but really for your cases for closing and what's going to affect your closing, really open violations are what matter. So we're going to go ahead and hit open cases, and we're going to hit submit. We're going to leave everything else blank on that page. Here, everything else blank, and we're going to hit submit. And this is going to bring up a list of the current open building violations on that page. Here we've got 2 open violations. One, you can see in these boxes here, it's kind of like a little spreadsheet, but really importantly, you want to check out your case numbers, your case types, and you want to make sure that your folios match here. Your owner's names are not something that you need to care about, specifically because it doesn't matter who owns the property at the time of the violation. It matters that the violation exists on the property at that time. You can blame whoever you want for the violation, but what really matters is that the violation's still open. So really, we want to take a look, and if we need more details on this, which we always want, we want to go ahead and hit go. It's going to bring us to the general case information of this page, where we're going to have our case number with a brief description, the property address, the folio number, our brief legal description, the date the case was open. That's important to know for these items, and then really what kind of codes are breaking, but that's not a big deal. One thing that matters, what you should know, is the inspector name. That's something you can always reference so that you can call and ask questions about this. Below that is going to be a history of the violation. It's going to be going in descending order. So the most recent stuff is going to be right here. You can see the date, kind of what the description of the activity was, and if there's any other information here. One of the things I like to make sure that you note is this ticket number. Now, Miami-Dade County has 2 different departments for violations and citations. The citations are for the money. The violations are for the physical act of the violating of the property, of the codes. So to cross-reference them, for the citations, they make a ticket, or what's also known as a citation number, and this is going to be that number. So we're going to want to make sure that we're printing all these out so that later we can reference them with the code violations of the citations department. And we can go down and see this, and this is great because it gives you a whole history of the date of when everything was done, what was done with notes. If you go all the way to the bottom, at the first one, you can kind of see what the inspector made notes about the violation, and pictures that they've taken of the items, and if they made notes on the violations. It is important to look at these. I suggest printing out each violation so you know what the case numbers is, as well as the ticket number, and you have a reference of what's going on with the violation. So you can really take that into assessment for your calculations. I'm going to hit the back button, and I'm going to go back to my search, and I'm going to go to my next citation. I'm going to hit go, and I can take a look at, again, all this information that was there. I'm making sure that I'm referencing the inspector name. Well, for open expire permits, it's just going to be a database. It's not going to be really an individual inspector. Basically, you close the permit, closes the case, and pay the fine if there is any, which you need to reference with this ticket number here, which you can get a ticket of, and you can see all the way from the bottom where this goes from, and all the way up from the beginning of the case to the current status. So again, I'm going to hit back, and then once I'm here again, I'm going to go ahead and go back again, and I'm going to search. Go back to the search section. Now, I am going to blank everything out because I only wanted searching by one criteria, and if I use the back button, it's going to keep that information in. If I go to the new link, it'll wipe it clean, but I like to just hit back a little bit. It makes it easier. Now I'm going to search, and the way I'm going to search on this for the address to cross-reference is I'm going to search by the property address number, okay? Then I'm going to search just by the direction, and then I'm going to put the direction in there, and then I'm going to be putting the street number with the type. So in this case, one place, if it was 53rd Street or 153rd Street, I just put 103 space ST. I'm going to make sure I'm selecting open cases only, and I'm going to hit submit again. Now, hopefully the cases come out the same as they did when we searched for the folio. But if they don't, make sure that you're going into that other citation, getting those details for that third one, because it probably does still attach to that property. And you want to make sure, and then it's probably still referencing. And Miami-Dade County is great, but they do have a habit of messing these references up a little bit. So that's why we double check based on folio and property. So this, and so that we feel safe and warm inside when we're going to sleep and we're doing our due diligence. This is the searches for your building violations in your regulatory economic resources department for any kind of violation on that property, physical violation. It would be listed here. Again, it's not 100% guaranteed, but it is a great reference because it is fairly accurate. Now we're going to be moving on to our next search, which is going to be, if we go to our resources page, our next search is going to be specifically for the code enforcement search. This is going to be a search for our, again, it's our link is right here for code enforcement searches right there, right in between the two. And it's going to bring us to this page. So this is a search which we're going to find any citations that are on the property, fines that the county has placed on the property for either violations or encumbrances or anything that the county might want to just tack on money for. This is where they're going to show you. You could search by these 4 tabs if you have that citation number like we found in the building department, the regulatory and economic resources page for the building violation searches. That's the ticket number. You can put that right in here. But I do suggest if we're doing a full property search, because not all citations are going to be listed on that building violation search, we want to make sure that we're searching for this full property. And the way that I like to do it is through the folio number. Now, we can search by name, but if you have a common name or anything close, there's no guarantee that that name is going to be for that individual. So I stay away from that. I stick to folio and mailing address. That's how I stick to it. But always double check. And in this case, I'm going to show you why you want to double check. And one of those reasons is because mailing address does not mean the violation address. So the address that the violation is at. Mailing address is what is registered on public record in the property appraisers page as who needs to be sent notices. That's not always the property address. If this is an investment property and somebody did the deed correctly and they put their office address instead of the property address, the mailing address is not going to be the same as your violation address. And if you were to only search by mailing address, your certain violations would not come up. And I'm going to actually show you what that means. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to search by mailing address, and we're going to search this by just putting the property address in, as we basically would find it on the property appraisers page. Just basically abbreviated direction, the number for the street number, and then the abbreviated street type. We're then going to select open citations only because, as we said before, open citations are all that you really matter. and we're going to hit search. We're going to go ahead and hit search, and it's going to come up with 2 citations. Now, these citations are going to come up. It's not always going to come up with 2 citations. If your property has multiple citations, it's going to come up with multiple issues here. You can see your citation number, the issue date, the total due. Now, this by no means is the official payoff for that citation. This number is just randomly is not randomly put in, but it is put in based on an arbitrary figure that the county selects for an individual type of violation and an individual type of property. So sometimes they just type $510, and sometimes they just type $65 for a certain type of violation. More severe the violation, typically the higher the penalty, the higher the amount that they put. But you definitely want to call the number on the citations details that we're about to look at for a full payoff. The county will usually make you pay a fee for a full payoff, but they will sometimes give it to you on the phone for free. So make sure you're asking, and you definitely want this citation number when you speak to that. So to get more details on this, we're going to click this little I right next to it, and it's going to break down. It's going to give us kind of the brief, vague descriptions of this citation, and it's also going to tell us who to contact. So here you can see the citation number, your citation number, as well as your issue date, your status, the status of the citation, and meaning is the violation still open? But it doesn't always mean the violation is open. It just sometimes means that the violation is not paid. So if there's the property is in compliance but the fee hasn't been paid, this will still show open. And then your amount, you can kind of see where they come out with these random figures. It doesn't take in any kind of per diem amount if it's finding on a per day basis. It doesn't take any payoff amounts or arbitrary administration fees. So you really want to contact your issuing department's number here. You can see that every citation is going to have an issuing department. We can see what the description of this is for, and really we can take this and we can just check out all the data here about when the violation was made. Who is it a repeat violation? No, is all sorts of good stuff on here. Really, you want to make sure you're looking at this violation location, making sure that that's your property, and you want to print each one of these out so you can reference them and research them later. We're going to go back to our results here, and we're going to go ahead and click on the second one where we're going to get those details again for this new one for failure to obtain an inspection on it looks like a permit here. We're going to match our folio address as before. We can see the amount and the issue date and the citation number here that we want to make sure we're looking at. And we can go and just see those. So one of the examples that I want to show you is that this page that we're going back and we're on our search page on our results, it shows that there's 2 citations. Now, we search by the address here, but again, it's the mailing address, the violator party street address, which is just the mailing address. So whoever owned it had this mailing address at the time that the violation came. Now, if we go back to our new search and we go to the Folio tab, this is going to really show us our folio. So we want to put our folio in with no spaces. If we copy our folio from the property appraisers page, again, I clicked the property appraisers page. If we go back to our code department and we're in that folio tab and we paste, it's only going to put part of the number. And that's because this site does not like dashes. So really you want to take your folio number and you want to type it. Okay, it's not going to come up for that if you haven't searched like this before. And again, we want to select open citations only. We're going to hit search, boom, and it's going to bring up 3 citations this time. Remember before there was only 2. This is going to have 3, and that's because, as you can see here, the mailing address is different. Well, that mailing address was probably different for whoever owned it in 2005, and there could be a whole bunch of different reasons. It could be that a contractor had a different address. Could be a whole bunch of different arbitrary reasons. Maybe on these 2 violations, the inspector put the actual property address instead of putting the mailing address. All sorts of good stuff. But really, you don't want to rely on the mailing address. You need to do both, but you want to make sure that you need to search by both the property address and the folio number. But make sure you're doing both, because this is the kind of thing that pops up and can really put a dent in what you're trying to accomplish on that property. And we can see here that this one, the violation address is actually our address, but the mailing address is different. So we see here, what is the difference. We can see all our information here about our citation number and our liens and everything here. So that's great to make sure that you're keeping on track. So that is how we search for code citations on that page. We make sure that we're matching the citation number. We make sure we're taking these citation numbers, and then we're going to go back. I'm going to go back right now to our search for our building violations. And if I click on the details of this, I can match our ticket number here on the history with P017479. I can match that to our citation number here of P017449. So I can see here that it kind of makes sense if I click on the details of this citation. Failure of owner and builder contractor to obtain a permit matches kind of up to the general case information for working without permit. So kind of it goes hand in hand. They're just named different with different types of violations and citations, different names. So you can see that, and we can match them up. Not all citations, again, are going to have tickets, are going to have violations. And if I go back, I can see we only have 2 building violations. And if I go into this expired permit, I've got 1 ticket per violation, but that's not always the case. Sometimes we have more than 1 ticket per violation. If it's an older violation that's been finding for a while, might have multiple ticket numbers, which in this case would show up in this list multiple times, different citations for the same violation. And we can see our ticket number matches this citation, but that this third one, middle one, does not have a violation, and that is specifically because failure to perform lot maintenance doesn't always come with a building violation, because the actual building is not violated, but the codes are violated, so it would be in your code enforcement section. If you have any questions in regards to the searches here, always give us a call. You can go to our website, contact us. The third search we're going to do is for open or expired building permits. So if I go back to my resources tab, I click my resources, I go back down to Miami-Dade County permit search here, and I click that one, and it's going to bring us to this page. We're going to do 2 different searches here. Again, we're going to do it by folio and by address. The first one I like to do is the open master permit address. We're only going to do 2 because that's really all you need to do. If you had a permit, you could follow up on the status on this website, but you don't always have to. Here, again, we're not going to paste our folio here. We're going to type it. We're going to type the whole folio, because you can, if you type it, it's great. But if you paste it, you can just get rid of the dashes, because it will not search if you put the dashes in. We want to get rid of those dashes, okay? And we're going to hit submit. Oh, I'm sorry. Since I apologize. We were putting the folio number in. So if I hit it, we were putting the address in, and I'm putting the folio number in. Okay? Simple mistakes. So in order to search for the address, we're going to go ahead and type the address. And we're going to abbreviate it as we have, basically right off the proper appraisers page. You know, sometimes, and this is a great way to kind of snag something real quick. If you're on the property appraisers page, you can kind of just copy that first part of that property right there. Just select it, copy it, make sure you get everything though, and you just can paste right in there, and boom, and then you can submit, because that's really the format you need. So once you submit, it's going to bring you to this page, and this is going to here would be a list of all the open or expired permits. Just if an expired permit is open, it's just been an old permit, so it's expired. Kind of like if you leave milk in the fridge too long. The permit list is going to be here, and it's going to basically give you some brief description about the issuing date, the permit type, the address that the permit's on, and you really want to take into account this permit number. This is going to be blue for you for a blue new link in your web browser, but if you click it, it's going to bring more details to that violation. Really, you can get all this information from that first screen other than the category. So you can see this says this is kind of for new windows, and if it had re-roof, it's for a new roof. If it's for asphalt or driveway, or you'd see the brief descriptions. If you need more details on the permits, you can definitely go to the Contact Me screen for Miami-Dade Building Department. And the way you do that is you can click back, and if you go down to the bottom of this page here, you can click Phone Directory right at the bottom part here, and on the phone directory, it's going to bring you down, and you can kind of go through this and find the building department. You can also go to the building department homepage here, and you can find Contact Us here, and it'll bring up all the phone numbers for that as well. So we've searched by the address here. Remember, we put the address in there. We're going to hit submit. It would bring us to that page. Well, now we're going to search by folio number, because the same situation that we had with the citations, we're going to have with these permits. Sometimes they don't always input both materials, both of the inputs correctly, and sometimes they put one and don't put the other, and sometimes they put the other and don't put the old one. If they integrated in an old permit from an old system, sometimes it doesn't have the same merging, so therefore that folio number is not always there, or that mailing address is not always right. So we want to make sure we're checking them right, So when we do the folio, as I said previously and kind of messed up the first time, we're going to type our folio. We're not going to copy and paste it, because it does not like the dashes that are in the property appraiser. So we're going to type this without any kind of dashes. I'm just double checking that I'm doing the folio correct, which I'm taking again from our property appraisers page. And I'm going to hit submit. When I hit submit, it's going to bring us to this open master permit inquiry. I apologize. You need to make sure that you're selecting this bottom link here, this bottom one, and searching by your permit. When you do that and you hit submit, it brings you to this page. You're going to hit submit again. It should copy that folio right in there. Just double check it, but it should bring you right that folio. And again, it's going to bring the list of your open master permits here so you can see them. And this should definitely be the same list. If they're any different, you want to make sure you're taking note of those. You can click the link again and see them. So that's it. That's a search on how to find open building violations, county permits. Please make sure to check out our website, IndyTitleFTL.com. There's going to be a link at the bottom of the page. Please make sure to follow our YouTube channel, and we'd be more than happy to so that you can get notifications of all new videos that are released. Check out our website and go ahead and you can see this get a quote button. Get a fast and easy quote for your closing costs right in Florida for a very quick property, and for different types. Within 5 seconds, you can get a whole quote on your title search fee, on what your title cost would be, and you can email it right to yourself. No sign up necessary, not adding you to any lists or anything. And you can get a quote sent right to you by email really quickly. Again, my name is Jim Santiago from Independent Title, where you get that Santiago satisfaction. Have a great day, guys. Thank you.